Greetings, initiates. Jedediah Thomas, the Mind Master here. Today, I wanted to talk about something I've figured out in the last couple months. I've touched on it in the last couple of videos, but I think it deserves at least one, if not multiple videos about what it actually is. Like and subscribe on the channel for more content about the mind, the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, traumas, limiting beliefs, motivation, and now everything about the soul as well. So, the thing that I'm going to talk about is this thing that I call soul imprints. And if you look at the chart here in front of you, you'll see third down on the left, the structure, it's part of the soul. And then going over to the layers, it's part of the non-structural parasites. And it's the first one there. And the reason I call it a soul imprint is not because it's on your soul, it's because it's literally an imprint of somebody else's soul that gets attached to you somehow, right? So basically, what it is mechanically is all of us as individuals have a specific energy signature that encompasses everything of who we are, right? The good, the bad, our insights, our ideas, our thoughts, all of this stuff. There's like an actual blueprint, if you will, of who we are as an individual. And what happens is this imprint, like somebody else's entire blueprint of their soul or their psyche or whatever you want to call it, attaches itself to another person. Now, it sounds a little bit far-fetched. I get that. But as I've started seeing them, as I've started learning what to look for, they're actually extremely prolific, right? There's actually a lot of them, and this happens actually more often than you'd think. And it can happen from like directly from another person. It could happen like passed down kind of genetically or, through family lineage. There's kind of several ways that it could come about, but I'm still actually researching like the why it comes about. So I would liken this to, say, the Hindus called something karma, right? Where basically it's like you have past lives that you're living out, or you did something bad and now it's like returning to you. There is an element of that, but in this case, because of mechanically what it is, it's more like it's not because of something that you did per se, it's because of something somebody else did to you. Now, I don't know if they have to intend to do it like a curse, or if it's something that happens unintentionally, or if it just happens in the normal course of existence. I'm still trying to figure that out. But basically, who they are attaches itself to you. And from that point on, whether you inherited it from, genetics or DNA or, family lineage or whatnot, or you inherited it from someone putting it on you like a curse, it stays with you basically for the rest of your life. And from that moment on, what happens is it's almost like wearing that person as sunglasses. So you will now perceive the world in a slightly different way. You still see, right? But your world is now colored by this other person's perception, this other person's psyche. And most of the time when it happens, it's a really negative thing, right? And I think part of the mechanism of why it happens is like intention, right? So if they have a bad intention for you, then they can actually implant this soul imprint on you, or this curse, and then that can actually affect your life. So that's kind of like the more easy to explain side of things, from like an actual mechanical point of view of like when your own perception is changed, it changes how you affect reality, right? How you move in reality, how you perceive reality, how you understand different things in reality. Now, here's the other side of it, which is that not only does it color your perception of reality, it actually colors other people's perception of you, right? So, as an example, people will, like, we are energetic beings, we're electromagnetic, and before we actually consciously see someone, we basically see somehow or perceive their, their electromagnetic imprint, right? You could call it an aura or whatever. There's, different sciences around that, which I'm not like super familiar with, but we do perceive other people on levels that we're not necessarily aware of. And what happens when you get one of these soul imprints is like other people start reacting to that imprint as though it's you, right? So imagine going out in public and you wear a demon mask, okay? Now, everyone that you talk to, right, their first impression of you will be that, you know, either that you're a demon or that you're wearing a mask, and they won't actually be able to see the real you. And they'll react to you as though you are that mask. And that's where it gets really really sinister, because you can be affected in your life by how people treat you and actually how the universe responds to you on another level because of these imprints that have nothing to do with you, right? And so that's where you get into this kind of idea of karma, where you're living off all of these like past lives or past sins or whatever, the sins of the father passed down and all that, stuff. What they're trying to do is explain this phenomenon that you have been imprinted electromagnetically by another person, right? And it's not only changing your perception, it's also changing other people's perception of you. Now, how to actually identify this? They're extremely subtle. Like it is the single most subtle thing that I treat, that I work on. Like it's a very difficult to know that you have these imprints unless you've done a lot of other work with me. Like you've cleared traumas, you've cleared beliefs, you've worked on, say, like personality, multiple personalities, and we've done all of this stuff because they're so difficult to see, right? And how you can kind of um conceptualize it as like what it is. So say like a trauma is a situation that imprints on you, right? It's like, okay, somebody hit you and now every sight, smell, sound, taste, touch of that incident is now imprinted on your soul, right? And that's a specific event that you can go back to. But imprints, you can usually identify when you got them, and you can usually identify who you got them from, but there's no logical reason why you should have it. And that's why it took me so long to actually realize that these things exist, because there is no logical reason for having them unless you incorporate this whole spiritual model into things that I'm referring to. And so basically, in comparison to trauma, a soul imprint is going to be like a negative ethos that comes completely packaged in one vibrational package. And what I mean by that is that all of the negativity, all of that imprint comes down to one word. And depending on what the imprint is, could determine what that word is. And it's usually something like anger or murder or suicide or rage or depression or frustration or like get a thesaurus, right? Look at all of the negative words that we have words for. And when you when you have a reaction to a specific word and there's no logical reason for it, but it just like fills you with that entire emotion, that's probably a soul imprint, right? Unless you got it from a specific traumatic situation and you know why you got it and how you got it. But it's very, how would I say it? It's very difficult to know that unless all of the other stuff is gone, because it's literally like it's not like complete colored sunglasses. So I was talking about the sunglasses, like you put on such a dark shade that you know you have sunglasses on. It's just like the slightest tint that changes things, and now everything is being run through that tint, right? And so it's so subtle, it's so imperceptible. It is really difficult to actually see them. But now that you kind of know what they are and how to identify them, um, what I've noticed is that those people that I've actually done enough work with to actually get to the level of needing to work on these soul imprints, they don't just have one or two. Like they usually have 20 or 30 or 40 of them. Like I said, they're extremely prolific. So as I work on more people, as I get to that level of work with more people, I'll have more data as to whether every person on the planet has soul imprints or it only comes about through some other mechanism. Like maybe only people who are insanely traumatized get soul imprints, or maybe only people who are cursed with black magic get it. I have no idea what the mechanism is, and that's, that's a long ways into the future until I figure that out, probably. But the people that do have it, it's not a small thing. Like it's just like once you figure out what they are, once you hone in your awareness to them, it's like they're all over the place, like inside you. Like they're just like they attach to different places, like they could be on your head, your heart, your limbs, like it attaches to different parts of you, but it comes down to one specific word, and you know what that word is, and you can identify that word, and you can generally identify, okay, who gave me that? But there's no reason, there's no logical reason why you should have been imprinted. That's a soul imprint, right? And so, what I've actually been able to do, on top of figuring out these things exist, is actually figure out how to treat them. So I can get rid of them. And it's a little bit bizarre to explain how I treat them, but the closest thing that probably anyone has come to treating something like this prior to myself is the Hindus, right? So they had these specific mantras for releasing generational curses or karma or all of these things. So they were on the right track, but how I do what I do is quite a bit different than that. But basically, each imprint has a polar opposite word that releases that imprint, like it cancels it out, because we're looking at, say, like electromagnetic waves. You have a wave, right? And when you have an like same wavelength but opposite, you know, troughs and whatnot, then the waves cancel out, right? So that's how I treat it, and how I get to the knowledge of about how to treat that. That's work with me long enough and you'll find out. But basically, I can go in and I can actually disable these soul imprints by canceling them out electromagnetically, right? And there's no logical reason why that should work. Like there's no logical reason why I should know why what those words are to actually do that, but I do it and it works, right? So it's one of those things. You like I said, you'll just have to work with me long enough to actually get to that point where you could work on them. Like once all your traumas are gone and all this other stuff is gone, because it's just so difficult to see them. But once you actually get to treating them, you'll be like, um, they're very easy to get rid of once you see them and once you have the right word to get rid of them. But for whatever reason, nobody can come up with the right words to fix them except for me. So like explain that. I don't know, but it works. So basically this is one of those videos where you have to take on a lot of faith, because like the things that I'm talking about are not normal for, say, like normal science. Like normal science doesn't account for things like this, and I can explain it with a correct model of physics, but normal science doesn't use a correct model of physics. So there you go. But the point is that just knowing about them and knowing like how to identify them and knowing what they are and how they come about, and even the specific imprint, and knowing how to fix them overall is not enough to actually fix them. Like you actually have to have the right opposite word that like cancels it out. And for some reason, I'm the only person who's been able to actually figure out what those words are. But I assume anybody could if they were attuned to it, but I don't know how to get people to attune to it. So if you find that you have these problems, you have these like imprints, you have these words that like are coloring your entire reality, and there's no logical reason why you have them, and you generally know where they came from and who they came from, but it's not like a traumatic situation, it's just something that attached itself to you, then we can definitely talk, because I can actually fix it. But like I said, in general, it's probably something that you won't actually see until you've worked with me for some amount of time and we fixed all of the other stuff that's more obvious. So hopefully I didn't weird you out or anything. This has been this is one of those things, like, if I didn't discover it myself and I haven't been able to figure out how it happens and the mechanism behind it and how to fix it, I wouldn't believe that it exists, right? The only reason I found this out is because somebody did it to me, right? Like, they put their soul imprints on me, and it took me like a month and a half to figure out not only what they were, but even to even begin to figure out how to fix it. Like, I had no idea what happened to me, what they did to me, and it took a long time to figure it out. But this is what I came up with. So if I haven't scared you off yet, be sure to like and subscribe, follow the channel for more content like this. I'll be going into more of these topics on the spiritual world now because I'm becoming aware of a lot more stuff than I was a few months ago, and the scope of my work is expanding exponentially. And so just follow along and leave a comment if you want. If there's a specific topic that you want me to talk about, I'll be happy to talk about it. And other than that, I'll see you on the channel. Thanks. Bye.